Now it's time to learn the real value of actions and how you can use them every single day in your workflow, something that I do with every single project that I shoot. I use actions. So let's take a look at this actual project that I shot this past weekend, about 4 days ago, at what's known as the California Basketball Officials Camp. And it's a learning camp. It's a training camp for basketball referees at the high school and college level. And they do it every year, and I've been a basketball referee for about 13 years, so this project is half labor of love and half commercial project. So let's take a look at what we've got. And we initially started over 3 days shooting about 1,500 pictures, and out of that initial group of 1,500, we pared it down to about, I would say, 140 images. Now I have to resize those images and get them into small JPEG configurations so that I can send them down to Jerry. He can take a look at them, tell me which ones he wants included for sure in the website, and then the rest is up to me. And we put about 40 or 50 of these images on the website to kind of demonstrate to new campers what the experience is going to be like. So here we are at the stage of our initial pare down of 140 images, and we're in Bridge right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open arbitrarily some of these images, because you don't want to open 140 images in Photoshop at once. It will choke. Trust me when I tell you. So we're going to take about, let's see what this number is, 46 images. That's a heavy amount in any consideration, but let's go ahead and open these 46 images. And this might take a bit because sometimes he likes prints on these. So when I did the conversions, the raw conversions, I converted them into high-res 16-bit TIFFs. And so since the file size is so large, it may take a while for these to load in Photoshop, depending on your computer. And now that we've got these all loaded in Photoshop, we're going to begin to build our action, and we're going to come up to default actions and then come down and start a new action, and we're going to name it the Central California Basketball Officials Camp. Go ahead and hit record. Now all the steps are going to be recorded, of course, in the action. So what do we want to do with this? Well, not a whole lot other than, let's see, I want to run these up to actual, and then I'm going to come down to image size, and I'm going to run these at about 800 pixels across the longest edge. Say OK. And then I want to boost the saturation just a little bit. These are flat. Now keep in mind, all of these steps are being recorded. Do a little sharpening on here, although I hesitate to do sharpening because all it's going to do is boost the noise. So I'm going to hold the threshold out to about 1. That keeps the noise from being sharpened, yet still allows the rest of the image to be sharpened. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that on there. Now I'm going to just save this for the web. And with quality to be about 80, we're going to hit save. And then I'm going to create another folder, and I'm going to name this Jerry, because then I'll know this is what I'm going to send down to him. Hit save, and then close the image without saving the changes. Now look over here. We have all those steps that have been saved, and so now all I have to do is stop the recording process and click on this one and then go from one to the next. And the only reason I'm not putting these up as part of an automated process up here, batch process, is because I've got portrait orientation and landscape orientation images mixed together. Now there was a day where I would separate all those out, build a separate action for each of the orientation, but that takes longer than just sitting here and making the adjustment as you go. Now we have a different orientation image that we did not record into the initial series of steps. But we can go back, click on the record button. Now I can come up, image size, come down to the long edge, 800, say OK, and I stop the recording process, and then I can take this step and move it underneath the horizontal. Now you're saying to yourself, well, now you're going to do 2 image size steps. Well, no, because when I see that I have a portrait orientation image, I'll disconnect this one, and then everything works as it should. So let's go ahead. So this one is landscape orientation, so I'm going to disconnect the portrait. Click OK. Click OK. Look how fast I'm going through these. How long would it take if I had to do these each individually? Ridiculous. Now at this stage, after you've done several, what you want to do is go and check and make sure that they're going in the way you want them to, because we're trying to reduce our workload here, right? And so what we want to do is make sure we're not going through an entire section of images and having something mess up. So let's click on Jerry, and indeed these are coming in the way we want them to. They've been resized, and I'm not happy with that sharpening process, but that's okay. These are only proofs. Something for Jerry to look at. These aren't the exact images that are going to go on the internet. I'll treat each one individually once we know exactly which ones are going to go up. But for now, this will work. So, very good. Let's go back to Photoshop, and now we have a portrait orientation. Notice how I'm changing between landscape and portrait orientation depending on the image, and it only takes a couple of clicks of the mouse. Sometimes if you get going too fast, your computer bogs up, and that happens. You might see that come up. I probably opened more images in Photoshop than my system was happy about, but as we get rid of these, I say get rid, as we process these, then more and more RAM is released, and the process begins to accelerate as you get to the end of your series of images. So you don't want to open more than 30 or 40, and then again, that process, that issue is also a function of how much RAM you have. This particular machine has 4 megs in it. My Mac has 16, so I can do quite a few more images loaded into Photoshop with my Mac than I can my PC. So let that be a part of your considerations as well. Yeah, my machine is choking on the lack of memory here, so I put too many images in at once, but oh well. Notice all I have to do here is click on the play icon, and everything is automatic after that. I'm going to pause here just a minute, let my machine catch up with itself, and see if we can accelerate the process somewhat.